Okay, welcome to this section two, uh, taken from uh, the Buddhist tradition. This is an anthology analysis of A.L. Basham's text in the text of by Dabari, the Buddhist tradition, on the Bodhisattva. This is section two. So, what does section two say? Let's read it and then we can analyze it. It says the Bodhisattva is endowed with wisdom of a kind whereby he looks on all beings as though victims going to the slaughter. An immense compassion grips him. His divine eye sees innumerable beings, and he is filled with great sadness at what he sees. For many bear the burden of past deeds, which will be punished in purgatory. Others will have unfortunate rebirth, which will divide them from the Buddha and his teachings. Others must soon be slain. Others are caught in the net of false doctrine. Others cannot find the path of salvation, while others have gained a favorable rebirth, only to lose it again. So he pours out his love and compassion upon all those beings and attends to them, thinking, I shall become the savior of all beings and set them free from their suffering. And this is taken from the Astra Sastrika Prajna Perimeter, section 22, 402 to 403. So, what's going on here? Let's think about this. So, why this quote? Why here? Why this? Why now? Basham now goes on in his text to quote at length one of the earliest forms of Mahayana literature, perhaps the earliest example of Mahayana. And this reflects his historical critical strategy we talked about in the last video. He wants to construct and make a construction of Mahayana using historical critical evidence from the earliest source, the strata of Mahayana writing, the perfection of wisdom in 8,000 words. That's the name Astra Shashishkra. And Prajna, it means wisdom, Paramita, perfection. So, just one thing to note here, one key idea is the idea of salvation is talked a lot about, or it's assumed a lot about. What is salvation? The Greek word for salvation is soterion, and that means salvation, and it's related to soterior, which is savior. Now, it's inappropriate for Theravada actually, but it's actually relevant to Mahayana, as Basham will show when he develops his account of the Mahayana idea of the Bodhisattva as a savior. In Theravada, there is a soterion, but there isn't a soter. You are your own savior, whereas in Mahayana, others can help save you. So, what is the content of the 8,000 lines? Well, the 8,000 lines has this key focus of the Mahayana belief. And it's a text that then led to an evolution over time of Mahayana, which begins with the idea of a being with a wisdom, with an insight into the true nature reality that the older guys, the way of the elder guys, don't have. And what is this true insight into the nature of reality? We find in the 8,000 lines that our natures, our very nature, is linked to this idea of dependent origination. We are caused, and other things cause us, and that we are made of parts, but those parts are made of parts. And this is the doctrine of sunyata that will get developed philosophically by Nagarjuna, and later the doctrine of Buddha nature in the second, third century. So first sunyata, and then later Buddha nature gets developed from this perfected wisdom idea. Alongside this wisdom that bodhisattvas have cultivated is the experience and knowledge of bodhisattva, which means the compassionate mind. So you become a being suffused with love and compassion for others. And like in Theravada, this is a supernatural insight, a transcendent insight, can only be gained through religious experience, not by logic. Now, for Theravada, all of this is a false doctrine. Um, to aim for the, to aim to become a bodhisattva, to aim to become some, to discover your Buddha nature, is just rejected in favor in Theravada of the idea of nibbana or enlightenment. In Mahayana, rebirth, not reincarnation, is emphasized, but it can be purgatorial. The bodhisattva vows to go into every realm of pain, and there are purgatorial realms of existence in this world. But the bodhisattva is one who enters these purgatorial realms to help all beings. And so here we have the concept very strongly in Christianity, and he'll explore this, of vicarious suffering for others, other effort, in other words, not just self effort. Now, what's interesting is that Basham himself doesn't ever really engage philosophically with the views and the truth claims being quoted. He just wants to expound them and to build them into this construct. And is that doing violence, as it were, to the actual construct he wants to? Is it really Buddhism he's describing? Basham's historical critical focus is on the academic explanation of the evolution of an idea, and he excludes from his bag of explanatory options any supernatural explanation. He's looking for a human, real world explanation, naturalistic explanations, how ideas develop because of texts, because of polemics, because of arguments, that sort of thing. So he rejects the idea of the miraculous or supernatural. So what other ideas are key here in this text? The idea of wisdom or prajna, we hear this in the Prajna Perimeter, the name of the book. What is the wisdom? It's the wisdom of love and compassion, to become a savior of other beings. It's the wisdom that is gained through this divine insight that you see, that you are gripped by this immense compassion. So wisdom is stressed at the very first line. The bodhisattva is endowed with wisdom. That word wisdom means prajna, of a kind whereby he looks at all beings as though victims going to the slaughter. Here's the religious experience of compassion. And this takes a central place in the Prajna Perimeter Sutras. First 8,000 verses, and then a series of sutras that perhaps culminates in the Heart Sutra about the 8th century. So almost a period of 1,000 years, these sutras are written. Prajna is the principal mean, the wisdom, or the more perfect wisdom of Mahayana, of attaining enlightenment, whatever that means. And it means different things in Mahayana as it does to the lesser form of enlightenment and to get to Nibbana in Theravada. Now, wisdom means to get either to discover your the emptiness, the way of emptiness, and the idea of compassion for others, because we're all interconnected, or perhaps to discover our Buddha nature. So the true nature of all things is emptiness, sunyata, or perhaps a linked idea of Buddha nature. We have this idea of the divine eye, the third eye mentioned here in the fourth line. His divine eye sees. Again, the emphasis in Buddhism is that it has to be a logical, not a logical development, but a religious experience. The divine eye sees things as they really are. And then this is written down in discourses, sutras, to describe this purified wisdom, this surpassing wisdom that the bodhisattvas see. They see the arising and the passing away of all things, including us. There's also other further ideas of a divine ear. So the key phrase here, word, is Prajna Perimeter, a Sanskrit word that means the perfection of wisdom. In Mahayana Buddhist tradition, Prajna Perimeter is the central concept, as well as the body of sutras or religious teachings presented in the form of short statements. The term comes from Prajna, meaning wisdom, and Perimeter, meaning perfection. Okay, so this was section 2 of our work.